We're going to look at drawing graphs and all the steps that are necessary to do that. First, we are going to look at this formula. Y is minus 15x plus 20. Dus y is min 15x plus 20. En we gaan kijken hoe maken we daar een grafiek van. Welke stappen zijn nodig en waar moeten we goed op letten. Wat we in ieder geval nodig hebben is ruitjespapier. Dus dat ga ik ook even toevoegen hierin. En zorg dat je dat thuis dus ook doet in je schrift met ruitjespapier. So, we need the squares. The first step when drawing a graph is always going to be make a table. So I'm going to draw the table, and the formula is with x and y. So we always put the independent variable, the one that we fill in, we always put it at the top, and the dependent variable, the one we calculate, we always put at the bottom. Ja, dus de variabelen die we invullen, de x hier, doen we altijd aan de bovenkant van de tabel. De variabelen die we uitrekenen, doen we altijd aan de onderkant. Well, then we decide the x values we fill in. If there's no table given in the question, you decide which x values you fill in. So we tend to do standard x values of minus 3 all the way to plus 3. So, als er geen tabel gegeven is, dan bepaal je zelf welke x-waardes je in gaat vullen in je tabel. En de standaardwaardes zijn min 3 tot en met plus 3. Zodat je zowel negatieve als positieve waardes hebt. En niet zoveel dat je veel te lang bezig bent met het uitrekenen van je y-waardes. So then we are going to calculate the y values. If you have to make a table, you do not have to write the calculation every single time. But I will do that for now so you can see what we're doing. For the first one, we have to fill in x is minus 3. So the formula was minus 15 minus 15x plus 20. So that means minus 15 times x. I'm going to use this sign for multiplication because that's the easiest on a computer. And x is minus 3 in the first place of the table. So that combined minus 15 times minus 3 is positive 45 plus 20 becomes 65. So we fill in below minus 3 65. And we're going to continue this, so the next one is y is minus 15 times minus 2. We are going to fill in the minus 2 plus 20 minus 15 times minus 2 is positive 30 plus 20 is 50. And we're first going to calculate the rest, then we can fill it in at once. So we are going to continue doing this until we have all the values for the table. So minus 15 times minus 1 plus 20, that's 35. Minus 15 times 0 plus 20 is 20. Because minus 15 times 0 is 0. Minus 15 times 1 plus 20 is minus 15 plus 20, so that becomes 5. Is minus 15 times 2 plus 20 is minus 10. And the last one to calculate, minus 15 times 3 plus 20 is minus 45, plus 20 is minus 25. So if we fill that in the table, minus 2 became 50, minus 1 became 35, 0 became 20, 1 became 5, 2 became minus 10, and 3 became minus 25. Hopefully you can see with all these numbers that if the x value becomes 1 bigger, so 1 higher, then the y value will constantly become 15 lower. Dus als de x eentje meer wordt, dan wordt de y-waarde steeds 15 minder. And that's because this minus 15 in front of the x in the formula. So if you see that before you've calculated everything, you can use that to easily calculate some of the other values. For now, I'm going to move this to the side because we don't actually need it anymore. Ja, als je een tabel moet tekenen, hoef je dus niet steeds die berekening erbij te schrijven, omdat je steeds dezelfde berekening doet. Als er één x-waarde wordt gevraagd om in te vullen, dan moet je wel de berekening opschrijven. So now we are going to draw the coordinate system, and the coordinate system always looks like a cross. And the first things we're gonna fill in are the things that are always the same. So we are filling in the origin, the oorsprong, where the axes meet. Ja, waar de assen elkaar snijden. We fill in x for the x-axis, horizontal, and y for the y-axis, vertical. And I already realized that this is not gonna be big enough, so let me make this a little bit longer, and right y here. So now we have to fill in the axis. Nou moeten we de getallen bij de assen schrijven, and there are two things to look for, two things to pay attention to. The first one is the main thing. Every step has to be the same. So every square to the side has to be of equal worth. Every square to the top or to the bottom has to be of equal worth. Dus elk hokje wat we opzij gaan of omhoog of omlaag gaan, moet evenveel waard zijn. Dus als ik één hokje opzij ga en ik zet daar 1, dan is nog een hokje opzij, dus ook eentje weer groter. 2. En nog één hokje opzij is weer eentje groter. 3. En ik ga dus niet eerst eentje opzij en dan zeggen 4. Want dan is dit hokje 1 waard en dit hokje 3 waard. So we have to make sure every step is the same amount of difference. So every step is worth the same. The second thing you have to look at is that you have to make sure all these values fit in your coordinate system. So for the x-axis, I can use steps of 1. It's no problem. I can fit it all in. 0, and then we're going back, minus 1, minus 2, and minus 3. Voor de x-as kan ik prima stapjes van 1 nemen. Dus elk hokje aan het eind van het hokje is 1, want dat betekent dat halverwege het hokje is een half. 1 hokje is 1, nog een hokje zijn we dan bij 2 en zo door. Dit zou dus 4 worden, want daar past alles wel in. For the y-axis, we can't do steps of 1. If we do steps of 1, we have to go up 65 centimeters. That's not gonna fit in your notebook, that's not gonna fit on my screen. So we're not gonna do steps of 1. So you have to pick a useful step. Well, if you look at this, easy steps, try to make it easy for yourself. Steps of 2, steps of 5, steps of 10, steps of 20, steps of 50. Those usually work the easiest because 1 square is 1 centimeter. So we can divide 1 or 10 millimeters, we can divide it by 1 or 2 or 5 or 10. Dus stapjes van 2, 5 of 10, dat zijn vaak makkelijker om te gebruiken. Dus we gebruiken hier stapjes van 10. That way we should be able to get to 65 within the view. So again, we have to make sure if I go 1 up to 10, then the next one has to be another 10. So then we get to 20, 30, and so on. But every step has to be the same. Okay, now I'm having a problem because my screen isn't big enough, which means that no, this is not gonna work. We are going to move everything down. And then we can move this up again and move this up because we do need to get 65 in view at least. So this way it should work. We were at 50, so the next one will be 60 and the last one will be 70. And going down, that means that the first one will be -10 and the next one will be -20. And if we continue down, the same here, every step should be the same. So if the steps going vertical are 10, then they have to be 10 all the time. Now we can fill in the points. So let's move this one slightly better. So they're in the squares again. So my x value is -3, then my y value is 65. So x is -3, my y value is 65. So in the middle of 60 to 70. If x is -2, y is 50. So we continue doing this. -2 and 50, -1 and 35, 0 and 20, 1 and 5, 2 and -10, and 3 and -25. So as a final step, we have to draw the line, make it a red line, and we can draw it between the points. And because of my screen, I have to continue. But if I stop with this point, it looks as though my graph stops here. Ja, als ik hier ophoud met tekenen, lijkt het net alsof mijn grafiek hier ophoudt. Maar dat is niet waar. Mijn grafiek loopt door, alleen ik heb toevallig -3 als eerste punt gekozen en +3 als laatste. Maar dat is niet het eerste punt van de grafiek. -4 bestaat ook, x is -4. En x is 4 heeft ook een y-waarde. En dat loopt oneindig door. We kunnen het niet oneindig tekenen, we can't draw to infinity, but we do have to continue at least a bit to show that the line continues. It's a line, another line segment, so it doesn't have an end. And the same on this side, don't stop at the point, continue through the point. So use your protractor triangle and draw a straight line all along the long side of your protractor triangle. So now we have the graph of the formula y is minus 15x plus 20. Dus nu hebben we de grafiek van de formule I is min 15x plus 20. To recap, step 1, the table, you fill in your own x values, usually minus 3 to plus 3. Step 2, we calculate all the y values, or actually that's still step 1 of drawing the table. The next step is drawing the coordinate system and then using your table to fill in the points. But when you draw the coordinate system, look at your table to decide what kind of steps you use on your axis. Lastly, after you've drawn the points, you draw the line through the points. You don't stop at the first point you've calculated, you don't stop at the last point you've calculated. The line goes through all the points.